So World Parkinson Day serves as a reminder for what? It must continue the global fight to improve diagnosis, treatment, and support for those living with Parkinson's disease. And I said, why is it important that we want to know what's going on in the world? Well, wouldn't it be great if we learned from each other? You can see what they do, some wonderful new research that they're doing, some findings, what their population is like. So it added even more questions. So why is April 11th the day that we pick? Now, it's not our national holiday. Just to let you know, it's a world holiday. Like I say, holiday, celebration, awareness is really what it is. But then we take the whole month of April for our awareness. So it came about because the person, James Parkinson, it's his birthday. So he was born April 11th, 1755. And because he was the one that really, really saw and looked at people and looked at what their symptoms are. He didn't diagnose fully, but he followed 6 people and watched what their symptoms were and put this essay together. This book is only 66 pages long, but to this day, people in the health community, physicians go refer back to it because they look at the symptoms that happened all the way back then. Now, he published it in 1817, which means in London in that time period, what was happening was the Industrial Revolution. So what's happening? All the different chemicals are starting, all the different metals, steel. So that could be a considering factor, but he was really looking at what he was watching people why they've got the tremors. He was putting that all together. He was the first one to do it, so therefore they named it after him. So when I did my information, I took it from different sources. There's so many sources out there, but I sort of like, okay, where can I put it in? Which is the one that's giving me the most? So it was the World Parkinson Day, the World Health Organization, the Public Health, and we ourselves, we collaborate with the World Parkinson Day Alliance, which is made up of 8 countries. Now, the problem is, and the more I delved into things, is that the estimates of all these things can change because have they been, how were they influenced? How did they get their data? Are they getting it from countries that even collecting them themselves? So I generalized it so you'll see when we go further how I came up with some of these numbers and where I got them from. Okay, before we start too, I noticed that they'll have a lot of tables and what they'll say. And so I looked at the difference because they have prevalence. So that is the number of cases of a disease at a specific population at a particular time point or a specific time period of time. Where a lot of them have incidence, which is the rate of new cases of the disease occurring in a specific population over a particular period of time. Most of the ones that I saw use prevalence so that they can see the number of cases as a whole. So, what is the fastest growing neurological disease in the world? Okay, so last year, if somebody was here, the answer was Alzheimer's. This year, it's Parkinson's. Now, I was surprised at that because, but what happens is, according to this professor here, and he is from the Netherlands, he said, one, we're living longer. But if you take out the aging component, Alzheimer's remains stable, where Parkinson's is rising in cases. So let's look at the United States before getting into the other countries. So approximately 90,000 people are diagnosed each year. 90,000. So 6 per 1,000 people age 45 and over are diagnosed. Men are 1.5 times
more likely to have it than women. And 1.5 isn't that much. I think a lot of people think it's really predominantly men, but it's not. And the estimated healthcare costs related to Parkinson's is estimated to be $52 billion a year in the United States. That's amazing. And look at the medication, averaging 2,500, and any type of surgeries like DBS and other surgeries, they cost could be up 100,000 per person. It's amazing. Amazing numbers. So in the United States, what do they think the contributing factors are? Well, one, they say aging. We're growing, we're living longer, we're aging, these diseases are coming up. The other one is, unfortunately, the exposure we have to our environment. Um, Pesticides, industrial chemicals, they all have risk to make, obviously, a higher risk of developing Parkinson's. And the other thing, which I don't know, the declining smoking rates. So they found that nicotine was protecting the part of the brain where our dopamine is. So what happens is with the decline of smoking, then what happens is Parkinson's then was on the rise. So I don't know, lung cancer, other cancers, I don't know. So anyhow, but that's one of the reasons in the United States. So here we go, and here we back to our environmental exposures. So paraquat is a highly toxic weed killer, and it's been banned in 60 countries, but is still used here. So you can go to the stores and buy the big paraquats there and think you're helping your garden, but what you're really doing is causing damage and possibly damage to yourself. So the other thing is, and this again was from that professor in Netherlands that I was reading about. He said that pesticides began being used in the 1950s because our population was growing so quickly. And people were exposed to pesticides through well water, and then it went through this food chain. And because milk is particularly has been found to have high concentrations of pesticides, many Parkinson's researchers, including believing avoiding or limiting dairy, may help prevent Parkinson's. I don't know. I just gathered the information, folks. I don't know. So, that's a little blurry, but this is now this is prevalence by state. So that means how many total cases. So if we look here in the United States, this is the darkest, sorry, I should use my thing. So when it's darker, that shows the more the cases. Okay. So what goes on in these states that we know of that could cause this probably for having more cases? Right. So the agriculture is what they're finding is the problem because they're exposed to pesticides. And so these areas here will have more prevalence to it. So, well, right here we go. Well, wait a second, 1 second. You're getting ahead of me. So it's called the Rust Belt. And the Rust Belt is these states right here. Whoops, sorry. Well, okay. So it was in the north and northwest and midwestern U.S. and it included Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Missouri, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. And they're considered to be part of the Rust Belt. So what was happening in these areas was steel plants. With a lot of your factories in these areas. And because of that, they're saying that that was an increase that happened. Now, if we look over here, I wanted to see where these 10 states as far as population, because we're talking about the fact of if aging and population increases the percentage of Parkinson's in that state, well, where do these states rank? So here we've got Obviously, these three are the most populated, but New York, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and Ohio, and Michigan are in the top 10 for population. So does that mean too that they're getting more Parkinson cases? Not sure. So if you go over here, I went further and I said, well, what's going on with the age 65 to 84? Because that usually encompasses people with Parkinson's. So starting at the highest, so Maine is 19.4, and then Utah is the lowest amount. So here, when you look at it, is the aging population of this group that we consider that are in the Parkinson realm. So does that mean that the population here, look how it goes, is it also adding, will it add to more cases because of that area? Or is it adding more cases because of age? Don't know. Could be both. I don't know. So now what's going on in the world? We see what's going on in the United States. What's going on in the world? Well, in 31 years, between 1990 and 2021, the global population, it rose from 3 million cases to 11.9 in 31 years.
This is the world.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I went to the world. So 8.7 million increase in 31 years. Yes, it is a lot. So where do they think what's going to happen in 2050? Well, predictions, because of aging and all the other things, they're predicting 25.2 million in 2050. So we think it's a lot with the 11.9, but look at that. I mean, when you think about it, it's not that far away. It's 25 years. So, and look what happens. Age 80 and older, it is 196% increase in cases. Yeah, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Now, where does it go? Where does it come from? Is it become because we're living longer? Is it becoming, so we're aging? Is it because we know more? Like what is the reason? Well, I think that's what they're also working on. So here, and this is a recent study in March 2025, and it's by the World Health Organization. So they said one second, I'm getting ahead of myself. In 2021, over 3 million individuals worldwide received diagnosis of a neurological disease. Now that encompasses all neurological diseases, not just Parkinson's. And it says that neurological conditions emerge as a leading cause of illness and disability affecting 1 in 3 people. And the burden of the neurological conditions are responsible for 80% of death and health-related impairments. And unfortunately, disproportionately, it affects the low and middle income. Because why? They don't have access to the healthcare that they should have. And so what happens is that the disparities exist between high income nations. So 70 times more neurological professionals per 100 individuals compared to low and middle income countries. So people with a higher income have 70 times they're able to compare to the lower of seeing no neurological professional. So here's the world and Parkinson's. So what you'll see is this is per 100,000 people. So when you see it's 300,000. So when we look at the world, not surprisingly, I was surprised at one of them. Maybe you'll be surprised. But here we have China, which would be dark because of the amount of people that live there. But look what's going on here, which people probably didn't think about Europe. Pretty dark. Canada. That surprised me, and I've got some information about it. And here we are in Australia. So the other countries, now, what could be happening in Africa, which I'll go back to. So remember, these are cases that they know of. There's an estimated numbers. So I wanted to see when I looked at those countries, the ones that were darker, like what is going on. So it turns out that Canada, there's more than 100,000 people in Canada living with Parkinson's, and an estimated 30 people diagnosed each day. That number is expected to reach 50 new diagnoses per day within 10 years. More than 11,000 Canadians are diagnosed with Parkinson's each year. And this is what really surprised me. They have the highest prevalence rates of Parkinson's in the world. And they have one of the highest rates of new cases of Parkinson's per year. So one in every 184 Canadians over 40 lives with Parkinson's. So I was thinking, why? Why Canada? Like, we don't really hear that much. Well, it turns out that their wait time to see specialists poses a problem. And 1 in every 5 people in Canada wait a year or more to get a formal diagnosis. So this prolongs their health care, maybe what they should be doing. They don't know they need to exercise. They don't know, maybe they're not getting their medications. They don't know all that, and it's pushing back the time that they're starting off with doing the things that they should. So in 2018, the national wait time, was 11 months. And with some regions in Canada, one up to almost 2 years.
They have free healthcare in Canada.
So it's amazing how all this because of the rural areas. So, but Canada's aware of it. They're trying. They're going to try to improve it and bring early intervention and education and support. But I was definitely surprised finding out about that. Okay, and I know it's hard to see this map, and I did make pictures of it, this chart, because it's really interesting. So when you guys leave, take it. So basically, they have taken 23 countries. They have how many cases they were in 1990, and now they're predicting how many they'll have in 2050. So if we look at China, China is going to remain number 1, probably because they live longer and the population. The United States was 2, it's going to go to 3, nothing that drastic. But when you look at some of the other ones, here's Russia. They're going to go from 4 to number 11, declining. Look at Italy. This is what's fascinating me. Italy was, at the time, number 5. It's going to go to 23. And I'm thinking, and I couldn't find much on it, but my thought was, did they learn that the Mediterranean diet is good for them? Now, they have 27 different regions in Italy. They basically eat what's in their region. They know it's fresh, and so if they've learned that this diet can really work well for people with Parkinson's, did that bring number 5 to 23? So I met Dr. Schumacher the other day, and I said to him, what do you think is going on here? And he said, I think it's just age. And I think it's just based on the fact of population and age is creating this, but I don't know. I mean, that is totally my theory about the diet, which means absolutely nothing, but it just makes you think, well, how did they go from right here, number 5, to thinking that it's going to go to 23? To me, that's pretty amazing. So you'll see a lot of these countries, you just follow the color. That's why I like you guys to take it, and you can see what happens. Now, Japan was number 8. They're predicting it's going to be 21. Another country. So Italy, they really made a big difference on where they are in comparison to from 1990 to 2050. So it's pretty interesting. So globally though, wait, I gotta get it says with I don't have my glasses. Anybody can read that? Is that 31? No. 31, and we're gonna go up to 25 million. So, no, I'm not reading that right. Is that one? No, 3 million to 25. That makes more sense. So this is what's going on in the world and what they're predicting. Well, Spain went up from 10 to 8. Yeah. Yeah. So Germany went from 6 to yeah, not too much, 4, but yeah. So it's a pretty interesting graph. Yes.
Those per capita, for instance,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
makes more than
So pretty much.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
You're looking at Canada. I don't feel better. Money.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
First guy is Parkinson. They've done. Industrial revolution. That higher.
Yes.
Which made me.
Which I'm going to get to.
Which made me. I drank well water.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
My father's thinking.
Uh-huh. So here is some more, and here you can see the age. So if here we've got Canada, we're going to be in how many? And you could I just wanted you to get an overall look and see what's going on. Now, here's a little bit darker, and this is supposed to be in 2050. So there's certain areas that weren't showing up before on the other chart. Now, again, it's the statistics, and I think it's hard sometimes to know exactly what they don't say, okay, we're basing everything that we're doing on boom, 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 aging, population, they don't say that. So a lot of this, I'm not really sure how they wound up with some of their predictions. Okay, so now looking in Europe, if we look at the certain countries, which is kind of similar to what we were looking on that other chart, what's happening in Europe in all different countries. So as you can see, Spain and Italy and all them, how many people per 100 are living with the disease? But look what happens down here, Norway and Finland. They're double compared to these other countries. And I wondered, like, why? What I see of Finland and Norway always looks so nice and fresh and clean and Nordic and healthy. And so what is going on? Well, what's going on is they found in the water. So I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I'm just going to point at it. So it's the microbe that they found in the wet, boggy environments. And so they're saying that it has a key role in the development of Parkinson's because it's excreting compounds that trigger proteins inside brain cells that cause these toxic clumps. So now when I go to the store, I don't buy Norwegian salmon. I'm like, okay, no, we're buying Atlantic. Because now and the same thing happens in Finland. See, this is what I think of when I see these countries. And then when I realize, like, holy moly, this is what's going on in their water. So that's what they're finding could be an issue. So there we go back to the toxins again. They're finding in the water. So could it be? Maybe. So now when we look at different other parts, let's go to Asia now. So Asia, and this is a study from 2019. So they found that the prevalence from these from 1990 to 2019. Look what happened. An increase in East Asia by 256%. 216 in South Asia, 174% in Southeast Asia, 57% in Central Asia. Wow.
Cambodia, Vietnam.
Yeah.
all part of it.
Exactly.
They look like they weren't- we just lost
Could
our
be.
country.
It could be. So the pattern of rising is likely to be similar in Thailand, which has an increasing aging population. So they're basing a lot of this on the fact of the aging population. However, other contributing factors in the increasing number of cases are likely because they've got the education out there now. They've got better therapeutic options and the increased ability and accessibility to treatment. And so where does it happen? Is it happening because they're aging? Is it happening because we know more? They're getting better care? So are these numbers so high because now they know how to also say, okay, you look like you've got Parkinson's, where they maybe and they didn't document it. So it's hard to know sometimes where these numbers are, but we can say it's risen. We can say it's risen highly. Okay, so here we have in China, let's take China because we know that's going to be number one always, as they say for the next 25 years. So in 2021, they say there was 5 million people, but in 2050, it's 10.5. So they're doubling, probably because of the aging population. It could be. So South Korea is 72.1 per 100,000 people. Thailand is 46.6, and Japan is 202 per 100,000. So that's a lot.
That's Taiwan.
Right there.
That's Taiwan.
That's Taiwan.
Yeah, not Taiwan.
I don't know. We better find out.
That's my country.
So I wanted to look at what's happening with Japan. So over the past 25 years, there's been a notable rise in the prevalence of Parkinson's in Japan. And they're saying it's because of the aging. This study aims to assess the impact it has in Japan, focusing on the aspect of health-related quality of life, productivity at work, limitations in daily activity, and the utilization of health resources. Why I like this is because it's a study saying exactly how they looked and how they found that number. And I was like, yeah, we found exactly how they came up with it. But research shows only a slight rise from prevalent cases from 20 to 21 to 20. So is this make it more reliable numbers because there's an actual study that looks at all these? I would say yes. Now, it's hard to see the chart, so I do have it. But what I found really interesting is there's more women in Japan that have Parkinson's than men.
Wow.
And that's the only country that I found that is. Okay. The other thing, so here this graph is just showing, so the purple, this is Japan, this is UK, this is the United States, Germany, and Spain. So when you look at it here, it's 2013 and go up to 2025. What was found interesting is that when you look at it, that Japan and the United States constitutes 53% of the cases. That's a lot. That's a lot. And so I have another paper just if you want to read more about Japan and these numbers, because it's really interesting. But I was really surprised that there's more women that have it than men. Now, is that because the women are living longer there? Could be. Were the women doing a lot of gardening and farming and all that? Were they exposed more? Could be. I don't know. Now, this I thought was interesting. So a lot of these countries, because they're learning more and what's going on, they want to develop things that are going to obviously help what? It's going to help possibly diagnose right earlier. And so this is Taiwan did this. Taiwan did this. So, I mean, sorry, take that back. It's Thailand. So they established what this is. So this is basically on your cell phone. You could see it, and you wear it, and it's going to pick up all these different things: your gait, your dexterity, tremors, your voice, and it's going to follow you. And what it does, and it's going to see you eating. It's going to be able to do early detection. So the doctors are going to be seeing all this data and say, "Oh, well, you meet the criteria for somebody with Parkinson's." So a lot of these countries are trying to modernize and find things and research themselves on different things. And so I thought this was a great idea that they can do early detection like that by just placing it in your pocket and doing your daily life. Okay, now Australia. Australia also was lit up. You saw it, right? It was a little darker. So they estimate that there are 70,000 individuals affected with it there. So there's a rate of 20 per 100,000 people. So there's studies being done there that are determining the aging population, right, and what's going on, but also the terrain. So there's all different terrain in Australia. And with those different regions then exposed to different chemicals. Could be. Their farming was different and all these different things. So that's something that they're also taking a look at. Now, we get to Africa. Look at these numbers. Really, really low. Is it really true? Don't know. Because remember, the low income aren't exposed to doctors. They're not getting diagnosed maybe early enough. They're not reporting things. So these numbers may not be what really is going on in Africa. We don't know.
These are all chemicals that are in our water.
That's right. So what do we do? What do we do as the world to help all this? So there, Parkinson's, it's the public health approach. And what they're doing is they're trying to help and get treatments because this is disparity that's happening in the health. People that have to so they're looking at several things. They're looking at health policies, targeting risk prevention, migration, enhancing access to treatment. So they're trying to help this approach to get into these areas so that they can. Of course, there is such a big difference in the type of healthcare that they get. So many of you heard of Michael Oken here in Florida. He wrote a couple of books, and one of them he put The Ending Parkinson's Disease of Prescription for Health. Well, he says that Parkinson's is a man-made disease. He said that Parkinson's is influenced by various factors, including urbanization, aging demographics, globalization, and the prevalence of unhealthy products like fast food. So the disease, it spans worldwide. We're all doing this the whole world. So here we come to the chemical part. So we found, obviously not over here, but in others, but certain chemicals like paraquat and TCE and chloride, they all have a risk for, a lot of us may have the gene for it, but I think we need what they say the environmental triggers. These could be it. So paraquat is even the most lethal chemical in the U.S. agriculture and is suspected to amplify the likelihood of Parkinson's by 5. But yet, we still sell it.
60 countries, 60 countries have stopped selling, still selling. So what do? Well, in response, you know, they're looking at all this and trying to, they're saying to review the paradigm and what it does, but while in UK banned TEC, it continues manufacturing and exploiting them. Yeah. Yeah. Totally different. I looked that up because Roundup always comes up because it causes cancer that goes down, but no, it does not have the same chemicals. Does not have paraquat in it. So the paraquat has been noted that it does. And we know Agent Orange and other things have been part of it too. Personal story that Brandon Craig's family. Most of you know that Craig had he's one out of 7, 5 boys, 2 girls. Him and 2 other brothers were diagnosed, so 3 of them were diagnosed. Another brother was diagnosed with mesothelioma, another type of cancer. While he was going under treatment for this, but the doctors didn't say, like, you don't need to think about Parkinson. You don't need to treat it. He's got a big problem with his cancer. Okay? So there are cases that are not even put in or diagnosed because there's something else that they may have. So in the 6 months that he was very young, he had called up Craig and he said, Craig, you got to do me a favor. I'm going to just come back from the lawyer's office. And I feel that we have a lawsuit here because we were exposed to some. Craig's family owned when they were little and in high school and on, they all worked. They were exposed to probably 50 different types. But they washed their hands in benzene to get the tar out. Okay. Craig and then were exposed to 9/11. That was another one of his treatments. 6 months later, 5 people on the block came out. So when his brother said, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to test before I'm able to go back to the lawyers and see. Craig said, of course. So what happens is his brother passes for 6 months. The lawyers call us up and told him that they had his number. His brother said, you know, contact my brother. Those lawyers lived in my house for 6 months. They went over every single thing. Now I'm going back to probably 13 years. So Craig remembered every single job, what they were exposed to, every chemical. But it turned out to be 50 different companies that were involved. Craig was gone for months, constantly doing depositions and going to court. There was times where there was 50 different lawyers yapping out. But he did it. And in the long run, he won for his brother. And he won, and so his nephews all got to go to college. And they all got the life that his brother wanted to do. So he did what he wanted, his wish for his brother. We have the paperwork. Paperwork's about this thick of just my brother-in-law's medical doctor papers. Because you never know if there was another brother or themselves that were going to come out and have these other issues. So, what's a fair trigger? Do they have a mutation in this family? Yes. But they probably needed that environment to be around it. So, which brings it back to, like, it's hard to understand. Even benzene, when you look at the container, they knew back in the 1800s that it was lethal and it wasn't good. And yet they still, it's same like we're saying, this paraquat is still being used. Okay. Now, the other chemical is, is
TCE. And that's from dishwashers, products and breaks and parts and cleaning, and that's all around. But they're trying, and they classify T as posing an unreasonable health risk to the public. So that in 2023, they were raising questions about its potential as the silent contributor to Parkinson's disease. So we're exposed to all these chemicals one way or another. So the World Health Agency, Assembly in 2022, they have set up an action plan which sets out a roadmap for countries to improve prevention, early identification, treatment, and rehabilitation of neurological disorders. So I know that's covering up my thing, but in July, last July, President Biden signed an act, and right here, oh, here it is. Oh, what? All right. What did I do? There we go. Okay. So on July 2nd, 2024, President Biden signed the Emmanuel Villara's and Honorable Jennifer Wexton National Plan to End Parkinson's 4. Now, last year, when I presented, it wasn't in law yet, and we were hoping that it would pass. So this year, I'm saying it passed. So what it's going to do is the law calls for an integrated national plan to prevent, diagnose, treat, and cure Parkinson's, or slow and stop the progression. Now, it's not just for Parkinson's, it's for other neurological diseases too, the multiple system atrophy, the cortiobasal degeneration, the progressive supranuclear palsy, and Parkinson-related dementia. So the national plan will develop with an input. They have a council. They look for, I was looking on it, they're looking for caregivers. They're putting together this group that can work on it and work on the plan. So here it is. This is what they're trying to do. So what they're trying to do is dramatically increase federal research funding. They want to develop more effective pathways for treatments and cures, improve early diagnosis, spark new and improved models for patient care, create standards and measures to prevent Parkinson's disease, address health disparities in diagnosis, treatment, and clinical trial participation, and enhance public awareness of the disease. And here they're putting together, this is what I was saying, groups, the councils, and the American Parkinson's Disease Association, and Fox, Michael J. Fox, and Fox, they're all putting this group together to make sure that, and hopefully that these things happen. Okay, so what do we do? What do we know that we can do? Well, what we do here every day, right? We know what exercise does. And the professor that I was quoting before from the Netherlands, he said in recent studies that he found exercising 3 times a week for 30 minutes at 80% your maximum capacity can stabilize motor symptoms. We do more than that though, right? We do a lot more hours than that, but at least we're doing that. People with Parkinson's, they benefit greatly. He says that there's 4 primary reasons exercise is crucial. Okay, one is that it helps your heart, your bone density, lungs. Exercise may prevent Parkinson's. And if you have Parkinson's, exercise works like medication. It is continually proven by research that exercise suppresses symptoms of Parkinson's. It is currently believed that anything can slow the progression of Parkinson's, it's regular exercise. And here we are with the nutrition. And I was talking about the fact that in Italy, well, here it is, they're saying that the daily exercise seems to protect against development of Parkinson's, as does the Mediterranean diet, eating dark fruit, like blueberries in that, and consuming coffee. Yeah, you have no problem with that. Okay. Now, how can we make a difference? Well, You can educate people. You know, a lot of times when you're not in the Parkinson world, most people think it's just the shaking. It's Michael J. Fox. It's Muhammad Ali. That's the tip of the iceberg, right? They have no idea what the motor symptoms are. They can just see what's going on the outside. I think if people really knew what it's like and how hard it is for the people that have it, the caregivers and their family and anybody around, it would definitely be an awakening to them. So education and awareness, that's what we can do. We can tell people, people with Parkinson's and other neurological diseases and are the fighters. You guys I admire every single day. It's not, people think, I think in their minds that you're weak because of these neurological diseases. It could not be more wrong. You guys are stronger because you wake up every single day and you deal with this. Most people can't do that. And that's why I admire all of you. And inform them about Parkinson's place. Tell them what's going on. But I go to so many doctors and think, oh, Parkinson's place? Wait, what? I did not know about Parkinson's place. It's 2 miles away or it's down the block. So, you know, tell people because there's people too, when you snowbirds that go back, they can do it online. You know, we're now in 50 states and 44 countries that I didn't even know I had to look up because I don't even know, never heard of them. We're reaching people that they don't have these type of places around them. So what greater thing to do but to tell them about it. Partake in research projects if you so inclined to do. And here we are, spread the word and get it out there of what it is to have this and persist in the fight. Craig and I would do the Unity Walk in Manhattan every year. We were called the Craig's Crusaders. And through the years, we raised over $100,000. Yeah, we were 75 strong, and we just, you know, a great event. There'd be like 10,000 people there, and they would make millions of dollars, and it went to Parkinson Foundation. So there's things that we can do. Now, how are we here making a difference? Well, many of you know around the bend, there's Parkinson Research Foundation. Parkinson's Research Foundation was started by Larry Hofheimer, our chairman, probably more like 14, 15 years ago. And a dentist had passed away and left a large sum of money. He met Marilyn Tate, who used to be here, one of our other founders, and they had this vision of here, Parkinson Place. And that's how Parkinson Place was created. So Parkinson's Research Foundation helps Parkinson Place. So that's the connection with that. So Parkinson Research Foundation, therefore, obviously gives money to research. So right here, on Thursday, April 24th. And the people that know it, just let you know the time has changed because the doctor's coming from Boston and this is how his plane changed. So he is going to be speaking now. Won't be Zoom, this won't be taped, this will be only for people that hear in person. So you have to sign up. But he is going to talk about the latest findings with stem cell. Okay. And I met not him, but another doctor, professor that's involved. And I have to say, I walked out of there like all excited with chills, and goosebumps. So please, if you can make it that day, please come in person. Okay, because it's going to be excellent to see what is happening and what could be the future. So here we are. You can do your reservations to come. You can email Candace at crodriguez@Parkinson. And in just a couple of days, we already have 50 people. We will not have classes those days. We're just going to get as many chairs as we can in here. So yeah, so please do that because I think it's going to be amazing for all of us to hear.
Susan, is that 11 o'clock, 11 a.m. correct? Or
Yes, it's 11 o'clock.
11?
It was 1, and it changed to 11 due to his scheduling and the flights. And just to continue, we have, which we are part of now, the Flanzer, which doubles our donation. And that's an ongoing daily thing. You can go to our website and it takes you there, and they will double the donations, and it is monthly up to 250, and it's matched, and annually up to 600. Now you have to do it per month. They will not accept the 6,000. So we have it broken down, and if you can find this in the latest scoop too, we appreciate that, because that's what keeps all this going too, here and the research. So leaving some words of wisdom before we do something that would be a little bit lighter when Candace comes in. But that professor that was from the Netherlands, he said, oh, wait a minute. He said people who live well with Parkinson's are people who accept it and learn to live with it. People who, after a period of sorrow and despair, say, hang on, it's there. I'm going to accept the fact that it's there, and I'm going to get on with my life, are the people who live well. Optimism and hope are important. This is a time for people with Parkinson's to have hope. Parkinson's today is different than Parkinson's was 10 years ago. We have better research, we have better drugs, we have better understanding of deep brain surgery. There are 10, 20, 30 drugs in the pipeline that could slow Parkinson's. So we have to have faith, we have to have our strength, and we hang in there, and every day we're here, we work hard together, we're like family together, and I think that's what gets us through. So we're gonna do something fun now. I promise, because I know this is a lot. And Candace is gonna come in. Come on in, Candace. So, well, the video? Yes, I'm just gonna tell everybody. So a few years ago, we were involved, and this is during COVID time, which we are, the World Alliance. And what it is that we did a dance, and it was very simple, to the Jerusalem dance. And people from all over different countries joined in, and you'll see that Dusty's gonna play it right now. And then Candace and I are gonna ask you to join in, and something much simpler than that. And we're gonna tape it, because I think it would be fun to have us doing something and maybe be able to join in with the World and the World Alliance with what we do here.
1990, there was 2.6 million people with Parkinson's. In 2015, it was 6.3 million. By 2040, it would be 12.9 million.
Because of our disease, we're all in different stages of it. But your music and your program, as I said, brings us alive, and the beat keeps us moving.
Well, you know what? The reason I'm doing so well, I had my annual visit with the Parkinson doctor yesterday. He was impressed at how I'm doing so well. And it's because of you, because I'm moving. So thank you.
In every aspect, no matter how strong you are, how weak you are, music will bind us, and it's most likely it lifts us up.
All different countries now coming on.
It's certainly one day of the week that we can all look forward to, with something different than the other days. And it sort of rejuvenates you with the music and dancing and seeing everybody and having a chat. And I think it's been excellent.
Okay, so now to that music. Candace and I put a little something that's really easy, don't worry. And we'd like everybody to join in and give it a try. And okay. So we're gonna show you once.
All right, I'll teach it standing, but the whole thing is seated. So what we're gonna do, it could be either foot to start. You're gonna tap one foot 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're gonna switch other foot. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're gonna march for 4. So when you see 1, 2, 3, 4, bring your arms up, bring them down. Then you're gonna starburst and open. So that's one part of it. So we'll do it again. So we'll do 4 taps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Other foot. 1, 2, 3, 4. March for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Arms up. Bring them down. And then starburst. All right. So that's the first part. The second part is so we're going to cross your body. Cross your body. Cross your body again. Cross your body. Then you're just going to bring them down for 2. So we'll do that part again. So here, open up, open. Here, bring it down, and then we're gonna start with some easy claps. So you're just gonna clap your hands, and we're gonna repeat. You can follow along with us.
Well, thank you all for coming and learning a little bit about Parkinson's. I hope I was able to enlighten with you, and let's just keep up the support together, and hopefully the world will come and do it together. I do have